The key moments in this football game. Let's start early on. And one of the many reasons, of which there are several, that I don't think this game was as close as the score indicated at times, beyond a perusal of the box score, is Tez Johnson gets hurt and Ryan Pellum fumbles a punt. Now, a lot of people will look at this and say, oh man, I can't believe a true freshman fumble. I can't. Well, you kind of can believe. I don't even know if people would say that. I think they'd just be frustrated that Oregon fumbled the football there. I don't put that on Ryan Pellum. That's on the coaching staff. That is 100% on the coaching staff. Tez Johnson goes out, and you put Ryan Pellum back there. You know what they should have been telling him? Maybe he was told this, and he disregarded the direction. Can never know for sure. Will never know for sure. But you're putting a true freshman out there who's clearly the number 2 guy in punt return. He's earned that right in practice. So there's no reason to say, hey, you're the number 2 guy, and then not have him be the number 2 guy on game day there. But he never, and I mean never, under no circumstance, should have returned the kick. Not because there wasn't some room to return and pick up a few yards, but because that is a true freshman seeing his first real game action in his career on the road at the big house. You can say it's just a football game and it's just a nameless, faceless opponent playing Oregon, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I guarantee you he was aware. I guarantee you he was aware of those sorts of things. And he did the hard part. He caught the punt. But the message to him as he took the field should have been, you are to go out there, you are to make a fair catch and do absolutely nothing else. That was not the time to give him the opportunity to shine, because you're going up against an offense that is not capable of consistently sustaining drives. So 7 of Michigan's 17 points, or one of their 3 scoring drives, came following this punt. And that was after Oregon stopped Michigan, scored a touchdown, stopped Michigan again. Okay, on their next offensive drive, when they actually got the ball to the offense, oh, what do you know? Oregon goes and scores a touchdown. So if you send Pellum out there to just fair catch the ball and then pat him on the back because, hey, in that environment with guys bearing down on you, you made the indication, you hauled it in, you did your job. If that had been what took place, Oregon's up 14-0. And this game has a much different feel. Instead, I think Michigan was more willing to remain committed to the run. They didn't run it very well. Like I said, only 105 yards on the ground. They averaged 3.8 yards a carry. That's a great number for the Oregon defensive line and linebacking unit. I think Tosh Lupoy and Dan Lanning should be really happy with that particular number. But if you remove that particular sequence, Oregon goes up 14-0. And it's different. It's a different football game. The crowd, not going to be as into it. They'll start to feel a little bit more dejected. The team will have that sense of urgency of, oh boy, we're down 14-0 here. We really got to go. Instead, they get a gift. And then Oregon gets it to a 3rd and goal. They flush out Davis Warren, and you know what? Props. He's the starter again for Michigan for a reason, because the coaches saw something in practice. That was a heck of a throw. That was a heck of a throw, and probably an even better catch. I forget the guy who made it. I want to give him his flowers because that was Tyler Morris. So this is an inept, anemic passing game for Michigan all season long. I talked about it this week, and one of the reasons I thought Oregon would hold Michigan without an offensive touchdown, there's nothing you can do about that. Yeah, you could sack Davis Warren, but you know what? He's got a little mobility. He runs out. He throws. Brandon Johnson's all over him, and the guy snares it. It was so hard to see live on television that you kind of went, wait, did he catch that? That was a touchdown? Oh, wow. Like, guy made a heck of a play. But that scoring drive, 5 plays, 28 yards. The next Michigan scoring drive was a field goal, 7 plays, 55 yards. They only had one scoring drive of over 60 yards. Like, it was not the defense was not as far off as 17 points indicates. Special teams was a net negative today for Oregon, without question. And yeah, they were able to make a field goal. Atticus Sappington hit a 26-yarder late in the 3rd quarter, Oregon's only points of the 3rd. But there was one sustained scoring drive. And then at the end of the game, Michigan had a big drive. They went down the field And hold on, let me see what that drive looked like. They went down 11 plays, 70 yards. Oregon trying to not give up the big play, and guess what? They were up 2 touchdowns, which is why you kick a field goal, take points on the road. I very much appreciated that Dan Lanning and company decided to do that. So they're up 2 touchdowns. Michigan needs a touchdown, and then they get the stop on 4th down. It was 4th and 5, and you can make whatever you want of the Michigan rotating quarterback situation, but Oregon got the stop. They got the stop that they were looking for. So I think that punt and the whole sequence really threw this game over to Michigan as much as it possibly could. And guess what? They still lost by 21. Like all of that happens, and Oregon still wins the game by 21 points. Here was my favorite sequence of the game. So Evan Stewart is an alien. This guy made the easiest one-handed catch that was so not easy. It was so not easy, and he made it look ridiculously simple. And Marcus Harper, who I'll talk about later on today's show, because unfortunately he got injured, he drifts downfield. It was a senseless penalty. Happens. Oregon only had 2 penalties in this game for 10 yards, by the way. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. When a lot of penalties are bad coaching, I hope we can go in the other direction with that pendulum and say, yeah, very few penalties are very good coaching, but that was one of them. So Oregon has a chunk play taken off the board. Ineligible man downfield. It's the greatest catch that didn't count. And Oregon scored anyway. That was my favorite sequence of the game. But by a mile, by an absolute mile, that they were still able to go down and get a touchdown after that, I think is just reflective of where this team's mentality is. All right, it's a setback, but we haven't been completely derailed. They're not operating with thin margins on either side of the ball. I talked about the punt as a big turning point in the game because it absolutely was. But Oregon still wins by 21. If that doesn't happen, they might win by 28 or 30 plus, and maybe we would have seen a Statue of Liberty again. So I was really, really pleased, and I just continue to be pleased with the next man up mentality, with the way this team starts football games, with the way they respond to adversity during games. Yeah, the Michigan crowd did get back into it after the fumble. Oregon responded. Michigan scores a touchdown on 3rd and goal. Wow, they made a heck of a play. Offense right down the field. Go score a touchdown. Whatever Oregon needs in the game. Think back to the Ohio State game. The botched review in the first quarter leads to an Ohio State touchdown. Guess what? Offense goes down. Or the offense, I think, actually was forced to punt, and then the defense forced a turnover. Then the offense was able to score. But they're not worried about an individual moment defining the entire game. I think there is a really high level of trust amongst those players in the coaching staff to put them in positions to succeed, and that has given them the confidence to know, hey, you can win this football game. You can overcome this, that, and the other thing. And Oregon, I think, showed that again in this football game. So let me know your thoughts on the biggest moments of this games, or anything of this particular game, or anything that you want me to talk about on Monday's show. But those were some of the inflection points that really stood out to me, and I think Oregon handled them all really, really well. And that's a good thing to see. Not everything was great. Not everything was great. There were 2 injuries in this game. Don't know. Details, don't know. Impact, do know. Depending on the details of the injuries and whatnot. I'll talk about that coming up next.